So now the serious work starts. We've finished all our odd jobs, cut down all of the trees that had been piling up on the bank. We've gone and we've tidied up the parcels, removed any old vines and broken bits of trellising. Now we're going to put our backs through the test, and we're going to go through every single vine in the whole vineyard, and we're going to do what's called l'épombrage, or bud thinning or shoot thinning in English. This is really important. It's a very hard job. It's probably like up in the top 3 of most important things to do in the vineyard on an annual basis. And basically we're removing all the unwanted shoots from the vine. We've made a massive dent in this bank where all of the chopped down trees were. I'd say we're like probably 90% there in terms of actually removing stuff from the bank, getting it broken down. When we pruned the vines, we were really careful about selecting the buds that we wanted for the year, both in terms of spacing and also the best ones that we thought would carry the best fruit on us. Now the plants started growing and all of the shoots have started coming out. They've kind of started coming out from everywhere. They come from the trunk, they come from the old wood, places we don't really want them. And you might think that's not too much of a problem. However, a plant only has so much energy, and in particular a vine, it has only so much energy, and we want all of that energy to go into ripening the grapes. So we need to go and remove all of those unwanted shoots. The secondary benefit as well is that we don't have too much foliage. With the risk of mildew and odium and other diseases such as rot, we want to make sure that we have a well aerated zone around the plants so that the fruit can dry out nicely when it's wet or it's humid, and we don't have those issues with disease. So it's a massive task. Laura and I are going to go row by row, foot by foot, all the way down. We're starting with Les Valades, which is a little bit more advanced than La Morelle. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to meticulously strip all of the leaves and the shoots that we don't want from the vines.
Okay, at Pomplage, we have already completed the first 3 rows. We have to finish the parcels in the vineyard. Our strategy is to be organized, one person for one row. You work your way down from start to the finish. It's quite tough on the knees. You have to lower yourself to the level of the vines as you work your way along. And it's important to pay attention to detail, to give the vine your full focus. If you miss any extra growth, then that might be detrimental to the vine producing healthy grapes.
So épombrage, so the basic idea is that we need to remove all of the shoots that aren't useful to us, and that in particular the ones that have grown outside of where we left the buds when we pruned the vines. So the easiest way to do that is to start here and to just remove everything that's on this cracked old wood and not the new wood that we pruned to last year. This year, with the vines restarting, they're growing a little bit everywhere, and we're looking for examples such as this, which is growing on the old wood but has got quite a nice bunch of grapes that's about to come out later in the season there. So I'm going to leave that for now, because obviously there's a lot of sap that's feeding that, and I don't want to be too brutal. This here is an example of a double, so in one bud you've got 2 shoots coming out. Here I'm going to generally pick the nicer one. It either means the thicker, bigger one, but in this case, again, I'm going to prioritize getting some fruit. This one doesn't have any fruit, so that's going to go. And that's pretty much on the new wood, so we're going to keep that. Here we're going to remove another small double. We've got quite a large growth here on the old wood, not carrying fruit though, so we're going to get rid of that immediately. Then on here we've got another double at the top. Again, keep the nicer one, smaller one goes. Oh, that was actually a triple. It had 3 buds coming from one. These 2 here I don't mind so much at the moment. However, this one isn't carrying any fruit and it's kind of blocking the sunlight elsewhere. Because I think we're going to leave this here, I'm actually going to remove that there. So we've got 2 on this, 2, 3 on this because that's carrying fruit, and a spare one down here where next year when we prune, this might give us some fruit. We'll prune here and we'll take this as our right arm next year. So Laura's working here next to me down the row. So this is the difference between one that's been done, one that's had its thinning, and one that hasn't. So the one that we're looking at here hasn't been done, so it hasn't had any thinning done. And as you can see, look at how clustered together all of those leaves are. That's an absolute nightmare because the sunlight can't get in there to ripen any of the grapes. The vine is using its energy all over the place, growing leaves and shoots instead of ripening the grapes. A few minutes ago, this one here used to look the same. as you can see, it is much more aerated, much better spaced out. There's much less foliage in general. It's much more tidy. Here we've got a lower chance of disease. The energy of the vine is being divided into fewer parts, and so in theory ripening should be better. And so we're happy, and you can see on the ground here all of the remnants of Laura's happy work as she moved on the vines. So yeah, there we go. This is why we do that. Épombrage, that's done. Not done, to be done next. Épombrage. So just checking up on La Morelle. So in the midst of Les Valades, but wanted to see how we are doing down here, because we were a lot further behind at the start of the week on this parcel in terms of the growth. However, with all of the lovely hot weather, sun, and in particular no rain, we seem to have made quite a lot of progress here. So I don't think we're quite ready to start yet, but I just wanted to show you a few positive signs. So down here we were like basically just like in bud stages, you know, maybe a week ago, you know, and now we've got like some really nice growth, as you can see. I'll just show you along here. So we've got like, you know, I don't know, like 10 centimeters, sometimes 5 centimeters, possibly even as far as 15 on the longest ones. So we're not far off from being able to go and do the épombrage on this. This one's a little bit less advanced. You can see there's only a tiny amount of growth on this end. You have to be careful. And then here it's quite limited as well, whereas here it's come out a little bit more. Here this is beautiful. Look at this. Look at that lovely 30-year-old vine. Yeah, and so the reason for that is that it's the vines here are much older. So they are like 3 times the age, 25, 30 years old, most of them. So as vines get older, they get less productive, but higher quality, which is always great. They're less vigorous, which means that they usually grow less. They sometimes need a little bit more support to produce, a little bit more sensitive to competition from grasses and weeds and the like, so you sometimes need to look after them a little bit more, but they make absolutely magic wines, so we are definitely going to be taking these vines out as long as possible and not ripping them up, you know. In fact, I don't think we're going to rip them up at all. What we're just going to do is replace them one by one as they die, so we have a mix in the vineyard of insanely old vines and younger ones. Anyway, I'm digressing. The point is that, you know, being older, they haven't started as quickly as Les Valades, which is entirely normal. It's what we expected, but they seem to be coming back really nicely. So hopefully by the end of this week, they'll have grown some more and we can get started on them next week. The only real risk with starting too early is it's not like a major issue. It's just that if you start too early, then they grow again and then you have to come back out anyway. So yeah, it's not like a massive issue, but you know, it's better to only have to come and do it once. Saves you back, saves some costs as well. So that's what we're going to do. We've got plenty of work to do up top, and then we'll come and we'll smash down here as well. All
right, so we are continuing with the épombrage. This is back-breaking work. It's very tough on the knees, but I also find it very therapeutic. So what I'm doing is I'm starting with the trunk of the vine to remove any growth from this area, because it will take away energy from the stronger shoots that we need to support the grapes, saving anything on new wood. So this, I think he will go, because there's, and the newer wood is at the highest point on the vine. It's thinner and smoother, as you can see, and you want to avoid the leaves and shoots being too congested, because that will inhibit growth. So this is quite congested here. I'm going to take this one. Here, I think he's okay. This one lower down, and I'm also looking up for signs of any grapes on the shoots, and if there are grapes even on an older piece of wood, then I will keep it. Here again, he looks a thin vine. He will go. Oh, you can see here he has some small grapes on, so I'm going to leave him for now. And again here you can see some very tiny bunches of grapes. Here is interesting. Oh no, it looks like a double, but that one wasn't actually. Quite close together. And then if I want to see around the back of the vine, anything excess here will be taken away. So I'll let Matthew review, but I think this vine is completed.
So it's coming towards the end of the day. I'm just chilling here under this tree, taking a break in the shade. I don't know if you can hear the wind, but there's this lovely breeze, which means it's actually quite cool when you're out of the sun. Yeah, it's back-breaking work. We've been at this for hours and hours today. We've done like 6 rows, getting on to just under half of Les Valades. Haven't even thought about touching La Morelle yet. That needs a little bit more time. The vines are a bit older, so they're a bit behind in terms of their growth. So we'll get onto those like next week and the week after. But yeah, it's absolutely knackering. Laura's just gone off in the car to pick up an aperitif for this evening. I think we deserve a glass of wine after all of this. Yeah, I mean, nothing's ever easy with us. We're super meticulous with what we do. I think this is genuinely one of the most important steps in the vineyard for the year. There's just no way in my head that, you know, we can do a half-assed job on this. So sometimes we're taking up to like a minute per vine. And I suppose the other complication as well is that because, you know, we're taking over the vineyard and there's all the complication of it being abandoned last year, and, you know, we were a bit worried about how much there would be this year in terms of yield. It looks like there's some nice grapes on it, but, you know, it's not that much either. So I think, you know, from our perspective, we're trying to prioritize as much, keeping as many potential flowers on the vine as possible, which means that we have to be super careful with what we're stripping off. We're not going to make loads of grapes this year. You know, we're trying to make them as high quality as possible. That's the only thing we're interested in, really. Quality is everything. That's why we bought this vineyard and we entered into all of this work. But yeah, long day. Let's take a final look at some of the work along here. Look at this. Much brighter, much cleaner, much less in terms of foliage everywhere. Ability for the grapes to grow in a nice, clean, healthy environment. So yeah, back tomorrow, same again.